Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Jawahir al-Quran, the Jewels of the Quran. These are um, verses from the Quran that Imam Ghazali selected from various chapters, not all of them, as one might, you would if you have read the Jewels of the Quran. So he skips some chapters, few of them, and we have reached the chapter on divorce, Al-Talaq, Surah Al-Talaq. Imam Ghazali chose the 12th, only one verse, the 12th verse, and the theme of the 12th verse does not mention divorce. The first verse begins with divorce, and it continues with some details about divorce, and the narrative shifts to in verse number 8 to communities, villages, communities that rebel, they disobey the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that the punishment that befell them. The very last verse, number 12, that Imam Ghazali chose, speaks about creation, a theme that Imam Ghazali chooses. He chose through and through in his selections, almost in every chapter, in every surah, he chose a verse or more about creation. And following the same methodology that we have followed in the previous surahs, despite the fact that we have only one verse that speaks about creation. I think it was Imam Suyuti who spoke about the importance, rahimahullah, about the verses, the verse that relates to the name of the title, the name of the chapter. So talaq, then divorce itself, is worth mentioning. Maybe Imam Ghazali did not choose a verse about divorce because it is the fact that it is permitted in Islam. It is it's a very last resort thing. In أبغض الحلال إلا الله الطلاق. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permitted divorce, but it's a detested behavior when life becomes impossible within the family together, husband and wife. Then one resorts to divorce. It could be she could be the problem, he could be the problem, both of them could be the problem. And this necessitates to some words before we speak directly about divorce, with some details. I think it's important to mention something about marriage. The sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is to get married and to procreate, and this would continue the vicegerency on earth. This would continue the communities of believers until the day of judgment. There is a purpose for our creation. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He did not, we, the royal we have not created the jinn and the human beings except to worship, must worship God, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this marriage would continue, and it's very important to understand the nature of marriage. I think rather than discussing the nature of the family, which is being undermined in uh, almost all Western countries by allowing same-sex marriage. And in same-sex marriage, typically there should be no offspring except if they resort to donors or surrogate mothers, or which could be, if one takes the argument to its logical conclusion, this undermines really procreation, and many Western societies, anyhow, they do not reproduce themselves. So their rate of birth is under the two per family. This is it is more sophisticated, really, and this is why they opened the door for immigration. Then they start attacking the immigrants one way or the other and discriminating against them, despite the fact that these immigrants, many societies like the American society, is almost 100% immigrant based, except for the indigenous people of the Americas. Now, those who get engaged, what do they talk about? If do they talk about the family that they are going to uh, establish? Do they talk about values? Do they talk about morals? Do they talk about virtues? Do they talk about schooling for the kids, for example, inshallah, in the future? Or are they talking exclusively about the wedding and the whom to invite and the cakes and the flowers and I don't know what? It's not haram to celebrate. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ, the sunnah is to have a walima, as they call it, to invite people for the wedding lunch, wedding dinner, whatever you'd like to call it. And this should not be an occasion to brag about the number of people. So it's about this sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, أولم ولو بشاة. So the walima would entail at least offering a slaughtered sheep, of course, cut and cooked. But again, what is it that they talk about, and what are their concerns? The dresses, the honeymoon, which by definition, if that's really the honeymoon, which is usually few days, if that's the honeymoon, then the rest of their life together is not a honeymoon. And maybe this is why we have a higher rate of divorce amongst newlywed couples. The percentage in Palestine at this stage is more than 50% rate of divorce amongst newlywed couples. There is something going on, and we need sociologists, social workers to decipher what's going on. But in general, I think basically the material, the consumerism, the lack of spirituality, I think that's really the reason. Outer shells, people care about appearances more than the essence of what it takes. So when I was a kid, practically no one divorced in town. I am a Jerusalemite. Almost no one. There were, of course, divorces, but unlike what we are witnessing today. If they have differences, the art of the art of forgiveness. We don't talk about. We don't talk about uh, physical abuse. If you have differences in opinion, if you have differences in taste, if you remember the house is her kingdom. Your domain is primarily outside the house. A colleague of mine, very respected, elderly scholar from an Arab country. We used to work together at the International Islamic University in Malaysia. I left the university. I returned to Palestine in 1996. In 1998, there was a conference about Imam Ghazali at the International Islamic Institute for Islamic Civilization and Islamic Thought, ISTAC, which was founded by Sayyid Muhammad Naqib al-Attas, Hafidhullah. He has just been granted the title Royal Professor by the Sultan of Malaysia. So my respected elderly colleague was there at the conference, still in Malaysia, and he told me that he divorced his wife. Of maybe they spent together maybe 50 years together. And he told me the problem was that he started interfering, in very silly things, like where should things be placed on the table. Let's say in the living room. That's exactly what he said. She would put something somewhere, and he would insist that it should be the order something else. For God's sake, what difference does it make? Really, it doesn't make any difference. So a respected person who knows much more than we know about legal issues, but he found himself trapped in that situation. If divorce takes place, then we should follow what we have here in the Quran and the Sunnah, and beginning with the first verse of Surah At-Talaq. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها النبي إذا طلقتم النساء فطلقوهن لعدتهن وأحصوا العدة واتقوا الله ربكم لا تخرجوهن من بيوتهن ولا يخرجن إلا أن يأتين بفاحشة مبينة وتلك حدود الله ومن يتعد حدود الله فقد ظلم نفسه لا تدري لعل الله يحدث بعد ذلك أمرا. O Prophet, instruct the believers. This is added. O Prophet, when you divorce, إذا طلقتم النساء, when you divorce women, then divorce them with consent for their waiting period. The divorce takes place through a clear verbal message that it is divorce. Saying to your wife, go to your family, that's not divorce, okay? It has to be talaq. This is about those who, after the consummation of marriage, because could divorce take place before the consummation of marriage? Yes. On the day of the wedding, while the celebrations are taking place, something happens that uh, would end the. Some men found it. They were offended. Uh, the his wife, because that's exactly what she is after the marriage contract uh, is signed and it fulfills all the conditions. She offends his mother before people. In one case that I'm aware of, she chose a song. She sang for him a song that's very offensive. I'm not going to repeat that. Uh, so, no consummation of marriage, but he divorces her. This would immediately uh, put her in a situation where she is uh, divorced. The divorce is بائن بينونة صغرى. Immediately she reaches that stage. Okay. Here we talk about divorce after consummation of marriage. We have issues. He should not divorce her during her monthly cycle. Now, if he divorces after the monthly cycle without touching her, then it's easy to wait the approximately 3 months, 3 menstruations. If he does touch by touching her, we talk about full intimate relationship between the husband and wife, which might lead to pregnancy. And if she does become pregnant and she is divorced, then her time is the waiting period for her. Waiting period means the period after which she could divorce, she could marry someone else. It's her birth. When she gives birth, not her birth, her she giving birth really to um, um, at the end of that pregnancy. Now, if he does divorce her during the during menstruation, this is a problematic case. It is called talaq bid'i. This is, of course, the least we can say that it does not follow the sunnah, but legally, in many parts of the world, it does take place. But it shouldn't. Some scholars might argue that precisely because there was no possibility of intimate relationship between the spouses, he lost, his mind, let's say. And if he does lose his mind, then divorce does not take place, like in a very severe case of anger. Severe enough, the jurist would say that he cannot distinguish between sky and earth. Like, you would say that you said such and such, and you say, oh, no, I didn't. It's not because he is lying, it's because he was so angry that رفع التكليف, in a sense. So he's not responsible any at that moment for his action, including, and was not responsible for his action. Speech, the act of divorce, the verbal act of divorce, speech itself is part of action. And there's the Imam Bukhari listed speech under action. القول من جنس العمل. If he takes her back, he should, he should the majority of scholars would say that he has to use, in as much as he has to use the words of divorce as talaq. Uh, رجعتك رجعتك. So taking her back before really having an intimate relationship. And that's all for the first time of divorce. If she completes the 3 months, the three menstruations, if she completes the 3 months, and he does not take her back during that period, then that's a state in which she would not be his wife again, except with a new contract and new dowry. If he doesn't, then she's free to marry someone else. If he does that the second time, and he does take her back, so first time he takes her back, second time he takes her back, the third time he cannot take her back at all. She completes, the period of waiting. Then she's free to marry someone else. She has to marry someone else before she could go back to her ex if this new husband decides to divorce her. The intention should be really that of interest in the new husband, not because she wants to go back to her first husband. So they should not play gimmicks. There are certain ways of describing the new husband. It should never be only a technicality. The new husband has to consummate the marriage with her, and it should not be only to a bridge to go back to her ex-husband. So when you intend to divorce women, then divorce them with concern for their waiting period and count it accurately, and fear Allah, your Lord, and do not force them out of their homes, nor should they leave unless they commit a blatant misconduct. There is a They should do not force them out of their homes. Culturally, I don't know about other places in the world. Usually in our region, not only in Palestine, when a woman is divorced, probably the first thing she would do, she would pack and leave. She goes to her family, which would worsen things. No, you are divorced. Stay with your husband. You are divorced. Stay with your husband. This will give the couple a chance to think about what happened, think about whether it was justified, to give him a chance to take the wife back. But her place is in her home. She should not leave. Do not force them out of their homes. لا تخرجوهن من بيوتهن. And they should not leave themselves unless they commit a blatant misconduct, a vice. These are the limits set by Allah, and whoever transgresses Allah's limits has truly wronged his own soul. You never know. Perhaps Allah will bring about a change of heart later on, of course, a change of later on. لعل الله يحدث بعد ذلك أمرا. Let me say, if one of the two spouses passes away during the waiting period in the first divorce, during the waiting period, they do inherit each other. So if the husband passes away, the divorced wife, she does inherit. If she passes away, he does inherit her. Then, when they have almost reached the end of their waiting period, either retain them honorably or separate from them honorably. فإذا بلغن أجلهن فأمسكوهن بمعروف أو فارقوهن بمعروف. Don't start say that she or he has something lacking. Don't mention anything. Don't. There is no need, especially something that one can repent for. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive you, but people will not forgive you. Don't say anything negative about your spouse, especially in court. The only time I was in, twice really. Once I was in, this is not about going to court, which I might have done many times. I'm talking about going to a Sharia court because of divorce. It was a case of khul', the daughter of a friend of mine, and her, unfortunately, her father-in-law, her, who used to be her father-in-law, said terrible things in the Sharia court in front of people. Even say that these things were, it was really interpreting behavior. It's not behavior. One might say that the behavior itself could also be problematic. It depends on the context. But the interpretation, the implications, and alluding, and I could see the humiliation of my friend. Please don't. If you retain your spouse, it should be be honorable. Be what happened to chivalry. Be a man in the true sense of the word. فأمسكوهن بمعروف أو فارقوهن بمعروف. The same thing for the woman. She should not. And there is a new thing in town. Lawyers who are specialized in Sharia, lawyers who typically are involved in divorce. From my, this is a practical, down to earth knowledge. It seems that the first thing that they do, they tell the wife who goes to their offices, don't talk to him, don't give him a chance, which means don't, so that the case could proceed and the divorce could take place, or the khul'ur. So their advice would be not to give him another chance. Why? And there also should be witnesses, and call two of your reliable men to witness, of course, either way. And let the witnesses bear true testimony for the sake of Allah. This is enjoined on whoever has faith in Allah and the last day, and whoever is mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will make a way out of them, or for them really. وأشهدوا ذوي عدل منكم وأقيموا الشهادة لله ذلكم يوعظ به من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر ومن يتق الله يجعل له مخرجا ويرزقه من حيث لا يحتسب ومن يتوكل على الله فهو حسبه إن الله بالغ أمره قد جعل الله لكل شيء قدرا. So He will make a way out for them and provide for them from sources they could never imagine. And whoever puts their trust in Allah, then He alone is sufficient for them. Certainly Allah achieves His will. Allah has already set a destiny for everything. And don't forget about documenting. One day, people, it used to be the case a long time ago. A verbal contract suffices. People were honorable enough to respect their word. Do document immediately uh, the divorce, because ultimately, if he reaches number 3, the third time, then it'll be temporary prohibition, حرمة مؤقتة, until she marries someone else. نكاح رغبة لا نكاح تحليل, as they say. Many other details, of course. One cannot really cover all the details. Of course, women can divorce. It's a different procedure. It is called khul. She would practically ransom herself by compensating him. There was a case during the time of the Prophet ﷺ when a woman companion mentioned to the Prophet ﷺ that she has no problem with the character of her husband. She has she has nothing negative against his character, except that she does not want to be with him in marriage. Okay, she doesn't want to have that kind of fitna in her life. She simply does not stand being with him. And the Prophet ﷺ asked her to give him back the dowry, which was the hadiqa. It seemed that he could have given her a piece of land, an orchard, really. And she agreed, she did. So this kind of divorce is permitted in Islam, and one should not make it very difficult the way legally it is done. Men can postpone things and can harm the wife, and we have something really even in the verses. They should not be harassed. They should not. You don't make it difficult for them. As for the woman past the age of menstruation, in case you do not know, واللائي يئسن من المحيض من نسائكم, their waiting period is 3 months, and those who have not menstruated as well. As for those who are pregnant, their waiting period ends with delivery. Those who have not menstruated, women could reach old age, middle age. They could reach their 20s and 30s without menstruation. That's a medical condition, and so for them it's 3 months. As for those who are pregnant, their waiting period ends with delivery, and whoever is mindful of Allah, He will make their matters easy for them. This is the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which He has revealed to you, and whoever is mindful of Allah, He will absolve them of their sins and reward them immensely. Let them live where you live, meaning during their waiting period, according to your means. Do not harass them, or to make their stay unbearable. If they are pregnant, then maintain them until they deliver. And if they nurse your child, compensate them materially. Do pay them, and consult together courteously. But if you fail to reach an agreement, then another woman will nurse the child for the father, a wet nurse. Let the man of wealth provide according to his means, As for the one with limited resources, let him provide according to whatever Allah has given him. Allah does not require of any soul beyond what He has given. After hardship, Allah will bring about ease. Then the narrative shifts now to communities, to societies that rebel against the divine commandments, and that they will have a severe accounts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will subject them to horrible punishment. They will taste the evil consequences of their doings, and the outcome of their doings was total loss. Now, before we continue with this, remember that divorce will devastate children if they are young. It will basically, it's disastrous for any family. It's not fun. Do not try basically to solve problems. Try to really evaluate. You should not life is too short. Remember this, and think about the interests of the children. Especially, after she stands, behind you, besides you. She gives basically her life to you, your children. Her health, I can speak volumes about these things. The bottom line is, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Women go through hormonal changes monthly. If they are healthy and young, they have monthly period. It's a very difficult thing for them. Just try to understand what they go through. And taking care of children, babies, and they have their hands full. This is what the Prophet ﷺ said to the young companion who asked about who is entitled to my best companionship. He said, Ummuk. And then I asked whom. He said, Ummuk, your mother, then your mother, then your mother. And 3 times the answer was, then your father. And the Muslim scholars said about this that the first, your mother, Ummuk, is in exchange for pregnancy. The second one is in exchange for delivery, and the third one is in exchange for nursing and nurturing and bringing up the children. So it's not really a small feat. These villages who transgress, who rebel, will be punished severely. And this is a message for those of people of reason. The very last verse, really, number 12, which Imam Ghazali chose as the jewel from this particular surah. We said that it's about creation. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the one who created 7 heavens. Allah الذي خلق 7 سماوات ومن الأرض مثلهن. He created 7 heavens. And likewise for the earth. The divine command, the command descends between them so that you may know that Allah is most capable of everything, and that Allah certainly encompasses all things in His knowledge. The interpretation of the 7 heavens, the 7 layers of the earth, one might, as interpretation, might mention, you might find a narrative about the four distinct layers of the earth. The inner core, the outer core, the mantle, and the crust. These are four layers. When you speak about seven, you talk about extra divisions within these four layers, and I'm not speaking about an Islamically oriented division. No, this is the scientific division. You talk about the crust. You can talk about the lithosphere. You can talk about, so it's the crust and uppermost solid mantle, and the ultimately, if you say lithosphere, then we talk about next is the asthenosphere, the mantle, one way or the other. At any rate, as I said, this is only an attempt to understand that we do have layers. We have, scientifically, they have explored only, a very small, very small part of the earth. One should not attempt to say this is the interpretation, but definitely when we talk about creation, that suffices, because nothing in the universe could take place on its own, and especially moving from physics to biology, life. This is very important. Since this is really a message to us, لِتَعْلَمُوا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the seven heavens, and likewise for the earth. This knowledge and the divine commands descending between them, so that we may know. That's a message to us, the living creatures, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of everything, and that Allah certainly encompasses all things in His knowledge. لِتَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ أَحَاطَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عِلْمًا. Inshallah, we'll continue in the next reading. We'll read from Surah Tabarak, Surah Al-Mulk. Until then, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.